How you doing, gorgeous? Today, we're going to be taking a look at how to make any shot look cinematic. If you don't know me, I'm Giuseppe. I started off as a broke videographer, but today I'm a remote colorist, and that means that I grade for clients worldwide. Now, you're probably looking at this and you're asking yourself, whoa, what are these shots? These are all from projects that I have worked on. Every grade that you see here, I made it. That's why you know that you can trust me. Now, today, my plan of attack for this video is to tell you what we're going to do, teach you a few of my strategies, and then I'm going to show you how to replicate them for yourself. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to be right here on the whiteboard, just 1 or 2 minutes discussing how to make actually like any shot look cinematic. Then we're going to jump onto DaVinci Resolve. We're going to change computer and I'm going to show you how we're going to achieve that. Okay, I have prepared a couple of clips from my past projects. Now, this video is aimed at videographers, video editors, cinematographers, people that get confused by color grading because, I mean, look at it. Look at how different every shot looks from the next one, basically. And I always say, like, there isn't a single one-trick pony. And that's actually why we're here on this video, because I'm actually going to teach you how to evaluate what you can do to an image, right? So, just in case you don't know that yet, I have a paid program. It's currently almost in beta testing. You can apply very easily. It's an online school. If you want to become proud of every color you publish, go check the top link in the description right now. Without further ado, let's get started. So how do we make any shot look cinematic? First, we've got to define what cinematic means, okay? You need to be careful because when we will start grading, we will encounter a few problems, okay? I'm going to walk you through them right now, but then you'll see for yourself what's going to happen. Now, we might have an objective, right? We might want to make something very dramatic like this thing right here. We might want to make something, I don't know, totally blue like this shot right here. We might want to have good contrast, saturation, a very crisp look like this clip here. We might want a soft look like this one, okay? Whatever you're trying to achieve, we've got to be careful of one thing. And now that I name it, you're gonna go, whoa, this guy gets it, okay? You've got to be careful of this. I'm going to type it out so that it's easier to follow. Flatline Fred. Now, who the fuck is Flatline Fred? Flatline Fred is the voice that you hear every time you try to grade and you become unsure of yourself. Do you know when you start grading and you're like, and you think, like, you watch my videos and you think, what would Giuseppe say about this? Well, maybe he would go even more. Yeah, maybe I need more. Or maybe the image doesn't look like you want it to, so maybe you do more. Okay, Flatline Fred is basically that. When you start grading, Flatline Fred is the voice that you hear that asks you to push more cinematic, more drama, more everything, okay? More softness, more of this. How far can the image go? Now, at the start, that doesn't seem like a huge problem, right? You're just like, hey, I'll just play with the image. I always say play with your images. But no, that's actually a huge, huge mistake. I'm not saying don't play with the image, don't see how far you can push it. I'm just saying you've got to learn your boundaries, because if you don't know what the image boundaries are, Flatline Fred is going to fuck you over, okay? You got to kick Flatline Fred out the fucking way, okay? And you'll see me handle it in this video. Now, Flatline Fred, you're going to see that once we get to grading. You need to know that Flatline Fred will convince you that you can apply just one technique to all your footage and it's all going to look like that. But that's a lie. I mean, look at my grades. Do you think that every image looks cinematic in the same way? No, it doesn't. Like, they're all different. Now, do you think, let's talk about something. Let me get two similar shots. Okay, these ones. So 1 and 2. Do you see how we get a little of cyan in both? It's not really the same hue, but it's similar. Now, I'll tell you one thing. They are not obtained in the same way. Same thing here. Look at this one. This one's more towards green, but it's still similar to this one. I'll tell you, they're not obtained in the same way. Now, Flatline Fred will turn you into a preset pirate if you don't listen to me. I just told you I was a videographer. I'll tell you a bit more about myself in a second. So if you keep thinking that there's a single technique that will get you to the same look consistently, you're wrong. It's not a technique, it's a strategy. That's what you got to learn, and you came to the right place, because here we talk about strategies and then we go and practice with them, right? So be careful. Eliminate Flatline Fred, because if you don't do, he'll turn you into a preset pirate. And the boys already know this. The guys that follow my channel, they know this. They have an armor. They're not preset pirates anymore, and they're working their way to become color kings. So the difference between these two types of people is this. Preset pirates, they always think that you can just apply a LUT or a single, let me type that out, single technique. There's just a magic button basically that you can press and the image always looks like that. You know that you've watched a preset pirate on YouTube when people tell you to just apply, I don't know, blue tint in the shadows and warm tint in the highlights. That's a classic preset pirate move. You know you're watching a color king when instead he starts telling you about, hey, we've got to think, like, what does our image need? Why would we go like this instead of like this? Because good is subjective. Like, you can have a favorite between all of these shots. And they all look beautiful in their own way. I mean, maybe you like this one. Maybe you like this one. They're almost like the opposite of one another, chromatically speaking. Maybe you like this one because you like the color contrast, the blue shadows, the blue blacks contrasting the warm fire. I don't know, man. You pick your favorite. Okay, so good is subjective. Today, you'll watch me make different images look good in different ways, and you're gonna learn my techniques. Now, if you really like the way I teach, and you want a structured program, a community, if you want to exercise on these same clips, I told you, I have an online school that I'm almost done building. You can still apply to get a discount. It's real easy. Step 1, click first link in bio. Step 2, apply. Step 3, become very proud of every color you publish. The form to apply, it's very simple, man. You just gotta do this and you're done. You get a discount. It'll be very affordable, but still, you get a discount, you get everything, you got it, right? Now, let's move to the strategy section. So how do we attack this? How do we make any image beautiful? Now, beautiful is subjective, and it depends on what we want to achieve and communicate, right? So what does this mean? This means that for every clip that you see me grading, and I'll talk you through it once we get to DaVinci, but for every clip that you're going to see me grade, we need to think, what are we actually trying to achieve? What story are we telling? Let's say that we want to make this room that I'm in right now very dark, because maybe I'm hiding from somebody. So it's dark, desaturated, the contrast is high because the stakes are high, there's a lot of tension. Okay, what if we want to make it a safe place? Well, it can have a clean look. Maybe it's going to be with a soft contrast, lifted shadows, very safe, very chill. You get the vibes, right? So we first need to think about that. And you'll see me do it in real time. So I'm talking through what we're going to do. Again, you'll see me do it on Resolve. So our strategy for this episode will be decide what to achieve, then we're gonna translate into colors, and we're going to grade at that point. And we might change our mind. Once we start grading, it's not uncommon to actually go back and decide again what to achieve. I might actually change my mind. Hey, I actually don't like this. Okay, so we're all set, and I'll see you on Resolve. Okay, so these are all projects that I shot myself. So they're all gonna be shot on Sony's, and we're going to try to grade every clip in a different way. Now, let's begin. So the first clip I want to go with is this one. This was from a music video, a very particular project. And in the music video, the official grade I went with was a very saturated, vibrant grade. But today I want to show you how much you can do to an image. So first things first, you guys know that we've got to convert it. So I'm just going to get my color space transform. I'm going to work with just one for this example, as we don't need to overcomplicate things. You guys know that I like working with more than one. Let's go ahead and convert this image. I remember this is shot on S-Log3. We're going to convert to Gamma 2.4, Rec 709, and we're golden. So first things first, you guys can see that we have a fairly bright image. Now, the thing I want to do, I want to try to make this image look like it came straight out of a thriller movie. So what I want this image to convey is mystery, okay? Since we have this child that is going through the forest and he basically discovers this red string right here, I want to play off of that. So first thing I'm going to do is, how do we actually make the image convey mystery? Well, certainly we can make it darker, and we might make the environment hostile to the child. What does that mean? We might try to actually make the environment cold and desaturated while keeping the child's skin saturated. So let's go ahead with it. First things first, exposure node. Let's bring it down. Around here, I like it. Then I'm going to go over and I'm just going to work my contrast real quick. So we'll get this lower. What happens if we bring our midtones down? I like this. Gain up, not too much. I want to protect the leaves. I don't want the leaves to be so bright. So I'll try to target them with my highlights right here. Nothing too fancy. I'm just trying to get a good enough look. Now, I'm going to do something that I teach in my school, which is called shadow shaping. Do you see how we made the image darker? Well, I like that, but I'd like to see what happens if we get some detail out of my shadows while still having what looks and feels like a dark image. I'm going to do it fairly quickly right here. I teach this in depth in my online school. Let's go like this. I like this a lot. We might need to adjust his skin tone, but I like where we're going. Maybe a little too much contrast. We've got to be careful. We've got to be careful about Fred. So I'm going to move this right here. Again, if this looks too complex and you want to understand everything that's going on, just go check out the top link in the description. Right now we have handled our contrast and exposure. I'm just going to make a new parallel node, call it HSL for now. I'm just trying to keep things simple. I'm going to move it. I'm going to move things right here. I'm going to make a serial node after that, call it sat. I'm going to handle my saturation over here. And right now, I'm trying to understand where we can get this image. Now remember, Flightline Fred will convince you that you can always do more, you can always get there. Remember, our image has limits, all right? And our job right now is to understand how far we can push it. So I'm gonna get my saturation node in an HSV color space. I'm gonna get rid of channel 1 and 3. I like to handle my saturation this way. I'm trying to understand how to handle this and how to get this where I want. So one thing that I want to do is actually keep the boy's skin saturated while desaturating the plants and keeping this, hopefully, the warm tones of the trees alive. So one way we can do that, we need to think, okay? This is what makes a color king. We need to think right now. So how do we do that? Now, one way we can go about it is by targeting our HSL, but I don't think this is gonna work. Yeah, in fact, I don't like at all what it's doing. So the way I actually want to attack it is this. We need to target the boy's skin first. So I'm going to saturate his skin without qualifying it. Yeah, of course, we're going to target the same red of this right here. That's something that we can't avoid using this method. Now, I'll try to cool off the image. I'll try to desaturate the image and cool it off at the same time. So I'll desaturate, and with a parallel node, I'll tint the image, okay? If this is too complex, don't worry. I'm trying to make things as simple as possible. Usually, this is the same reason why you've got to know how to use node trees to your advantage, okay? There isn't a single thing, like a single node tree that you can just download and it just works every time. I'm not a big fan of having pre-built node trees. I like to make my node trees on the go. If you want to stop the confusion, just go check out the top link in the description. So I'm going to desaturate my image. And while we do that, I'm actually going to give it a tint. So when I tint my highlights right here, I don't like what happens. Let's try with our offset. I don't like it either. Let's try with our shadows. I'm just using my mouse here, nothing too fancy. Okay, this is not looking too bad. Let's try to give the image some life. Notice how I'm giving life to the image before the tint. So this is the image without the tint, and the tint isn't being affected by the saturation, and same thing goes for saturation. Saturation isn't being affected by tint right now. This is a big part of how this grade is working. Let me watch it. Okay, this is not looking that bad. One thing I'm not happy with is how heavy our contrast is looking. So I'd like to raise our contrast just a little. I'm sorry, I'm raising my shadows and I'll raise my shadows and I'll be lowering our highlights. Okay, now I'd like to develop the look further, and I'd like to add some, let's see, I'd like to add some cyan to our shadows. So this is a pretty good point. Now I'd like to grab the tint that we have right here, which is going towards blue, and I'd like to skew it towards cyan. Now, one way we can do it is by serial node after our tint, and we're going to target our HSL again. In this node, you see how we have information about the blue. Right here, we don't, because right now we're getting signal from our tint. We actually might want to do it right here after our saturation. So let's try to get that going. Might actually try to saturate things like this. Yep. It's getting closer to what I wanted the image to be like. Okay, I might want to grab my gamma right now, and I might want to make the whole image darker by lowering the gamma, my midtones basically. Okay, but while we do this, to preserve some contrast, I'm gonna make my shadows brighter. Now, if you see me going back and forth between nodes, it's because I have a flexible workflow. Okay, as I told you, it's not uncommon to just go forward and come back. It's one of the things I like most about the way I build my node trees. I think I'm fairly happy with the image. I mean, it's not perfect. You could fix it more. You could certainly polish this, but it's a fairly okay point for my standard. It's not looking too bad. Now, let's go and let's target this one. So if we apply the same grade that I built, we're going to get a pretty workable solution. Now, of course, we've got to handle our exposure, which is fairly different, and they don't actually look that different from one another. Of course, there's some shot matching to do, but it could work on this clip. Okay, it's not polished. As you can see, we have something that's breaking. I don't really like how the blue enters the image, how his skin looks right here. So there's definitely things that don't work as they're intended to, but we could apply this look to the whole image. Now, what if instead we wanted to make this image look good in another way? Well, what if we want to make this... What if we wanted to make this look like it came straight from a commercial? Well, one way we can go about it is the following. So I'm going to target my exposure, okay? When I target my exposure, I usually look at my waveform. So again, I'm going to call it EXP. I'm going to go here. And I'm just going to play with the image. I like it about here. Sometimes, as you can see, I mean, you don't always need to change exposure that much. How much is this? I mean, it's almost nothing. And that doesn't say anything about my ability to grade. It just says that this means that the way the image was shot is proper. So I don't actually need to go there and change its exposure for what we wanted to achieve now. Okay, so you don't always need to change things just for the sake of changing things. That's a classic preset pirate move. That's just flatline Fred talking to you and trying to make you grade worse, actually. So contrast. What do I want the contrast to be? Well, I want fairly heavy contrast. So the image needs to be noticed. At the same time, it doesn't have to be that heavy. This is more of an abstract concept. I'll try to make it visible. I'll be lowering my shadows. Not a lot, just a little bit. Don't overgrade. Don't listen to Fred. After I handle my shadows, I'll actually go handle my midtones. I want to see. Okay. Well, I like my midtones over here. How about my gain? Well, I'd like my gain to sit over here. Let's bring our shadows using the slider. Let's bring them down just a little bit. Gain up. Yeah, I kind of like where we are. I might come back to this later. You know how I work. As you can see, not a lot has changed. A lot of times you got to know when to restrain yourself. You don't want to go around changing things just for the sake of changing things. Now, we've got to do what's called a layered desat. This is probably what the image is going to need. So I'm gonna make a parallel node, as I always do, HSL, just for good measure if we need it. I'm going to connect it to this. I'm going to make a saturation node over here. I'm going to switch to color space HSV as I always do. Channels 1 and 3. And before we go ahead, I'm going to make a new parallel node called Desat. Right here, I'm going to handle my desaturation. Now, I want to make things that are already saturated more saturated, or they can stay as saturated as they are right now, while we make things that are not highly saturated less saturated. First, I'm going to try doing that with my HSV node, my SAT. Okay, let's try this. When I was a videographer, I remember I always used to think that you needed to do so much in order for a grade to look good. Instead, a lot of the times, it's just refraining yourself. Okay, so I like where we're going. We have a lot of neutral spots right here. I might give this a tint. We might have overcooked the image a little bit. This might be overkill. I don't like how we're losing too much color over here. Yeah, we need to regain some color in his skin. So I'm gonna make a parallel node actually. I'm not sure. I'm gonna call it HSL right here, just because it needs to. We actually got a question right here to ask ourselves. Do I want the HSL right here or right here? I'm actually gonna make the adjustment right here, see if it works. If it doesn't, if it gets filtered out by my Desat nodes, we're actually gonna make it here where it doesn't get filtered out by the Desat nodes. So if we enable them, I'm just gonna enable the first one. You can see that the skin starts to look too desaturated over there. Let's see if we can do something about it. If I bring my reds up, the image starts, the skin starts having more life. Yep, that is still being filtered out. What happens if we do it in the next node? Yeah, we can retain a little bit more saturation on his cheek. So the problem I have right now is with the way the light is desaturating everything right here. So one way we can go about it is by making a parallel node under my contrast, call it high rec, which is my highlight recovery node. HDR color wheels. I'm going to target just parts of the image that are overexposed right now. I'm going to kick exposure down. I'm going to give it some saturation. This way we can have a less jarring highlights. I'm actually going to go a little higher. Yeah, I kind of like how this looks. I'm going to change the child's hue. Maybe desaturate him a little. After this, I want to see if my desat node is actually doing anything useful at this point. I might actually delete this. I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm going to keep this disabled for the moment. This HSL node, I'm thinking of just deleting this and adding more saturation in the other one actually. Let's do that. I'm just watching the clip. I'm actually going to go back. I want to handle the green now, the yellow, everything about that. I want to desaturate that and bring it towards red. Let's see how it looks. I like it more, but now that we have less color right here, we're lacking some contrast. So I'm just gonna go in my log wheels and I'm gonna bring my black down just a little. I'm gonna up my range so that more parts of the image are affected. I'm gonna head over to my curves and I'm gonna soften our black point. I actually prefer it this way. Might actually give it a tint. Okay, it's time to delete the Desat node. Might give a tint to the final result. Just talking about a color cast. Let's decide what we want. So we might go warm. Yes, warm is not looking bad at all. We might go cold. Cold could also look good. I mean, we could go cold and we might get some warmth in the midtones just to preserve his skin. I mean, this is one way you can go about it, but I don't want to go this way since we already did it for the last clip. So we're actually going to go warm. And we're going to bring our gamma back. I don't actually like it. I don't like the way with this method. I don't like the way that we have too many cold spots in the image. So I'll actually prefer to warm the image this way. You've got to be careful how much you're warming the image though. If you warm it too much, you're going to run into color compression problems. See, if I push it this way, everything turns the same color, right? So we've got to be real careful because flatline thread is always around the corner. I think I'm actually going to leave it at this. I like a little warmth in the midtones. It's very subtle. Usually, midtones and shadows, I like warmth in the midtones. I like the way it looks. Let's see if I can balance it with just a tiny bit of cool tones in the shadows. But no, this is too much. I'm going to switch to my log wheels. I'm going to head over here just to adjust my black point. I'm just looking at my blacks right there. I like the way this looks. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Let's see what happens if we paste the grade right here. Yeah, contrast doesn't hold up because he's in direct sunlight right here. Right here, it looks more like it's overcast because when we shot this, there were clouds in the sky, and this is sunlight. This is not sunlight. You can see that there aren't shadows on his face, and on his hair, you have way softer light. So the reason why the grade doesn't hold up here, it's way too strong. It's not because the grade just isn't good. It's because it's literally lit differently. Now, as a colorist, you've got to go in and try to make the two blend together. So we actually need to recover this if we want it to look the same. But I'm actually going to build a new look. So we're still going to convert the image, but this way. We'll try to do something different. I'm trying to build a flat look for this one. So let's go ahead. Flat looks usually are pretty slept on. And what I mean by this is that people don't really enjoy making them, but they can help you tell a story, and they are a type of look that you can work with. So a flat look is usually a look with not that much contrast. I'm gonna get my exposure higher. A lot of the times you can get away with a flat look pretty easily. This doesn't look bad at all. Okay, let's try playing with the image. Now we could go a bunch of different ways. We can actually make the image more desaturated. We could try, let me think about something. Yeah, we could actually try desaturating our yellows, which in this case desaturate the child's face around here, but actually desaturate a lot more our background, which I like, because we get some separation. We might actually also go over here. I mean, it depends on what we're trying to achieve. For this example, I want a more desaturated look. So we might go over here. And I might want to change my skin's hue. This doesn't look bad. After we have desaturated the background, let me call this HSL. Let me connect it properly. After we have desaturated our background, let me actually try to reintroduce some saturation in the image. I see there might be a small hint of blue around here. It's going to be interesting. We might inject some blue in this image. So it's going to be pretty standard. I'm not going to overcomplicate things for you guys. Remember, if you're serious about grading and you want to finally end the confusion, just go check out the top link in the description. You already know what to do. Okay, so I might want to introduce some saturation in the image, but while we do that, I'll make a new node, call it tint, and I'm going to make this before our saturation node so that whatever I do here gets amplified. And I'm actually going to introduce a cool color cast, not in our shadows. I don't like what it's doing in our shadows. I mean, it's not that bad. I can counter this with our midtones. It can certainly be a look, but it's not what I'm going for. What I'm going for is different. What I'm going for is a coolness right here. I want to get some separation. Yeah. Kind of like this. This is a little too much. Let me see, can I get rid of more yellow? Yep. Can we compensate with some red? Yes, we can. Can we now inject more blue into the image? We could. What if we inject a warm cast and the highlights? I don't like that. What if we saturate our image more? Not looking too bad. I mean, this could totally work. It's not what we're going for. It's a little too monochromatic. But this could totally work. It's still not what I'm going for. So let's see. Let me think about it. Can we inject? Yeah, I like this. Okay. Moving in the right direction. Now we have too much red in our skin. Can we go back here? And can we push our skin towards orange? Yes, we can. It's looking a little too, maybe too yellowy for my taste, but it's still good nonetheless. Can we now saturate the image more? Yes, we can. Now, can we regain some saturation back here? I'd like to see some saturation here. I like this. Can we now make a parallel node right here, call it HSL? We could just call this blue, because I'm just going to handle my blue here. Can we play with our blue right here? How about our cyan? Let's see what this changes. This is not looking too bad. Can we make everything softer now? I mean, this is bothering me a bit. We might actually, let me think about it. We might go serial. We might connect blue and sat to the serial. We might call it anti-red, anti-red or something. It doesn't really matter as long as you know what you're doing in the node. I'm just going to call it anti-red. I'm just going to qualify my highest saturation points for red. Yeah, they're around here. We are going to blur our selection. And we're going to desaturate them. Not too much. Just a little. Yep, just to take the edge off. I mean, I'm not totally happy with the way the image is looking. I'd like to introduce more blue around here. Can we get that? Let's see, I'm very curious. Yeah, this is looking like it's not going to be possible without affecting too much of his hair, which is a shame. I would have loved to have some more blue, but I feel like Fred's just talking to me right now and he's just trying to get me to do something that would actually ruin the image. I mean, this is pretty okay. This is not the best we could get out of the image, but this is still nonetheless a sufficient result for what we went with. Okay, so this one will be one of the trickiest shots that we'll grade in this episode. Why is that? Because yes, this is still shot on Sony's and this is still Slog3, but this is 8-bit. Now, when we convert this, not a lot changes from the other clips. I mean, it still looks proper. Okay, nothing's breaking yet. We don't have a lot of color information. You can already see some noise right here, some chroma noise especially. I don't know, I'm not too sure if that's chroma noise or it's just the 8-bit falling apart already. It might be both actually. So we have to be very careful. Now, when working with 8-bit, you guys need to know that it's a lot about what you subtract and not about adding. Okay, we need to be very careful because we have very limited data. You can already see that when you look at my vector scope right here. It's not looking very smooth for me. You can see that in the waveform as well. Let me change this. You can see that in the waveform as well. So we need to be very careful. So if before we had more freedom because we were working in 10-bit, right now we're a lot more constrained. So making the decision of where to sear the image now isn't really available before. We can't really do that. We need to go in whichever way the image was shot. So we have a warm sun coming in front of the camera, exposure is high, the sky is bright. We might end up with a slightly more contrasted image. Maybe it's going to be more flat. It depends on what we want to do with it, but we can't add too much color to it. I'll teach you right now how we can go about it. So the way I would personally handle this, so the way I handled this originally, this is a project from years ago. The way I handle that is I had, I think, an orange and teal vibe going for it. So one thing you can do always, even if you're working with 8-bit, is you can give things a tint. Okay, so you can do this, right? Nothing breaks too much. But as you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, giving a tint is not color grading. That's not just what grading is about. So yeah, you can give a tint. So I think I had something like this, maybe. So pretty standard, pretty preset pirate move, but I had something nonetheless. This time we'll try to get a natural looking image without anything falling apart. Let's see if we can do that. So first note, it's always gonna be my exposure. I like to go about it this way. There's going to be a few times where I might want to target something else. I think I'll just bring down the exposure just a bit. I mean, if we go too much, you can see that the sky, the sun in particular, is always going to be clipping. When you have something like this, I teach this in my school. Again, if you're curious, just go apply, get a discount, join for a month, see if you like it. It's not a big deal. It's not going to cost that much. It's going to be really affordable, great value for the deal that you're getting. So when you have something like this, the sky is blown out. First, you can see in the scopes, because if I go back, you see that it's all blown out here, and you can't just magically recover that, okay? Because we literally don't have any detail. I'll say something even, I'll go even further. I don't think this is actually the sun. I think this is this right here. This is a clipped white. Okay, you get that when you overexpose too much. Now I'll give you a tip. If you're working with Sonys, usually Sonys respond very well when they're overexposed. That's why you keep hearing everybody tell you on YouTube that you need to overexpose by 2 stops if you need to shoot S-Log3. And I agree with that. The only danger is that when you encounter something like this, well, now we have a clipped sun and a almost clipped sky. And when you have this situation with your footage, know that it's going to be very hard to get colors. Not because you're not good enough, it's because you just can't pull something where that something doesn't exist. I'll show you what I mean. So if we go down on exposure, we can already see some banding. I'll show you what I mean. If we up our saturation, I'll try to zoom. The transition from one color to the other isn't smooth. See what happens if I up the saturation of my yellows. See what I mean? So, of course, this is too much. Of course, this looks horrible, but we can't really work on this image. Like, we can't key the sky, let's say. It's going to be very, very hard. There's a few advanced techniques, but it's not what I want to teach you in this video. I don't want to teach you a one-trick pony. I want to teach you how to grade 8-bit footage. So watch me. Okay, let's go in real soft. Don't listen to fucking Fred. Okay, don't listen to him. Let's go soft. Let's see what we can achieve. I like a little lower of an exposure. Now let's work our contrast. Let's see what works. So we might go like this. This is getting a little serious. What do you guys think? Do we want to go for a serious vibe? We might go for a serious vibe, actually. This might be, I mean, it would be very very easy to just go for something like this. I'll just show you guys like really quickly. Like, I mean, this type of look would be too easy, and it's nothing particular, right? I've just added a tint, up the contrast a little bit. It's nothing fancy. But what about something that looks more realistic? What if you want to make it realistic, okay? So let's see. Let's have good taste. We might come down on our lift, then counteract our black with the shadow. Now, from the way she's lit, she's always going to be underexposed because she's literally in the shade. So either we overexpose or she's going to be in the shade, as I just told you. Now, let me try to think about it. Let's see what happens if we keep moving the image in different ways. So I like what I see when I up my midtones. I like the way the image has more life. It feels less serious though. I might want to come down on my gain. Right now I'm just targeting the Y. As you can see, it's the white slider that you have right here. And what it does, if I lower this and I up my gain, I am in a way upping the saturation in my highlights. I teach everything properly in my school. So let me understand. So I think I want a bit of a harsher contrast right here. I like the character that we gave it. Now, I want to try playing with my HSL, actually. So, one of the things that you can do, as I told you, is subtract. Okay, we might want to start subtracting colors that we don't want in this shot. Now, in the shot, there's a guy walking, and I want to see how the image looks. See how it's already, when we look at a frame, like right here, it's already breaking. This is what you're going to be working with when you work on 8-bit. So it's not a big deal right now. I mean, this is going to be in motion, of course. Nobody's going to go like this. Nobody's going to see it. I mean, if you see it like this, you're not going to notice it. But just beware, 8-bit is very sensitive. So we have got to be careful. You need to be careful. Not listening to Fred is even more important right now. So when we have the leg right here, the lens doesn't have the flare anymore. And we can see what the true contrast is right here. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's a little, maybe just a little too strong. I'm going to try to up my black point just a tad. I think I like this. So I like our contrast. Let me go. So when I'm unsure, I told you guys, I usually like to go black and white. It helps us determine if we like our contrast. This is not something that I do often, but if you remove color from the equation, sometimes it gives you a good result. So I like the contrast. It's very pleasing to look at. Now, I want to go for a more serious vibe. So I don't want, what I'm trying to get at is that I don't want too many colors in it. So I'll try to focus on what I don't like the blue. Let me see, can we desaturate blue a little? And, okay, for example, I like how desaturating the blue, I was talking about this when I talked about the blue. I like how when we desaturate the blue from the image, this gets less distracting. Sometimes you got to think like, where do we want the viewer to look at? Right here, right? Okay, so what can we do to make the image work in our favor? Well, in this case, I wanted to get rid of the blue that we have in the background. This is something that I didn't do for the official grade because I wasn't at this level yet. I didn't think of it this way, but this is something that we can certainly do. Now, I like how neutral this is looking. So if we look at our dress, this looks pretty neutral. We have some blue, but I think it's just noise at this point. So I like how neutral this is looking, really. I want to get rid of some of the green that we have in the bottom part of our yellows. There's something distracting about this flare. I don't know, I just can feel it. I want the image to be cleaner. Right now, it feels like it's attacking my eyes too much. I feel overwhelmed, and I don't like it. I mean, this looks too cheesy for me. At the same time, I might want to go pick up my reds. Now, look closely. We got to be real careful. So her skin isn't picked up properly by the camera. You can see there's a bunch of blobs right here. And this is borderline green. So we've got to be real careful. And we have got to be careful when pushing the red. Because if we push red right here, her skin is going to break. This is what I mean when I say with 8-bit, you've got to subtract instead of add when you want to grade. That's why I'm trying a more serious look. Anyways, so I'll keep my red here. What happens if I desaturate that? Okay. So the red can stay here. I'll give some life back to my yellows. Let me think about it. I think I want to mess with my white balance. Let's see if that does anything. So the thing that I don't really like about this image is how everything is pushed in one direction. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to change this just because of the way it's lit and what it's shot on. I'm talking about the fact that the sun is lighting everything in this way, and you can't fight that a lot, especially with the 8-bit footage. So let's see what I can do with this clip. So we'll switch to linear. I'll use my gain. Yeah, so when I push it this way, of course this is too much, right? I'm just looking at my vector scope. I want to see what happens if I push it this way. Yeah, I don't like it that much. I mean, I don't like, of course I wouldn't keep the image like this, but I don't like what's happening to the image. So for now, I'm just going to stick to it this way. Let's try to play with our sat and see what we can make out of the image. I mean, I have done some aggressive 8-bit grades. You can do that, but as I told you, we've just got to play with what we have. As soon as we start pushing this image, it's game over. So you got to know your boundaries, really. So if we push saturation right here, it's getting, it gets that, it gets that thing that I didn't want. So it gets like all of the same color, which I dislike. I might actually try to change the hue of our yellows and maybe we can call it a day. Let's see. So we might make this, we might skew this towards green, which is of course not what I want to do. We might skew this towards red. Now, I think I want to skew this a little towards red, but just a little. Actually, we might go, no, I take that back. So I want to go towards red. I'm trying to see what works and what doesn't. Now, let me play with my saturation again. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to make a desat node right here. I want to desaturate what is not saturated. I'm doing this in hope that we can have some separation between what is of a strong color and what isn't. So we'll try a different method. So we'll try a few different methods. So first, it'll be this one. So if we go like this, we will be targeting this area, and I don't like it. So we're just saying to DaVinci, hey, make my shadows black and white, basically. I don't like it because we're affecting our skin. I mean, you can go for a look like this. I mean, it's looking a little weird. It's too weird for me, but you could certainly do it. I just don't like it that much for this example. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna hit my sat versus sat. I'm gonna bring this down. This is a little too aggressive. Okay, so we're starting to hit some of the things that I wanted to hit. So first, this is completely desaturated, and I like that. Her hand is a little too dead right now, but we can decide if we want to split the difference after. I like the fact that this now is desaturated as well. We're getting some separation. Okay, this is very interesting. We might want to increase saturation where we need it now. How about if we go back here, increase our reds, what happens? We get some life. Yep, this is breaking. You can see that it is breaking because look at how sharp of a change her skin has. So we need to be very, very careful. This is really pushed right now. I think what I'm going to be doing is this. I will ease up on this. So we need a fall off to give her skin some leeway. I don't want it to be too desaturated. And I think we will be finishing, we might be finishing with a tint just to make things a little more uniform. Let's see what it does. I think we might be better off without a warm color cast, so without a tint. I think I actually like it this way. I actually think I like it this way. There's a few things that we could do. We could play with the contrast a little more. Yeah, we can make it more dramatic. This could be achieved. Our black point is a little too low for my taste, so it actually come up on it. No, this is definitely too much. Yeah, this is exactly where I would park the image right now. You could go with a more standard look. You could just get, I don't know, some tint on it, and you could do that. But for the sake of simplicity, that's what I would do. If you want to, you can just do this and call it a day and have a vibrant look. This is real easy. This is not what you came here to see. This is how I would handle an 8-bit clip without destroying it too much. Okay, now let's go ahead and grade this one. So this is a very interesting shot from, this is from another project that I shot, and this is 10-bit again. So we're gonna get the conversion. Yep, this is probably converted. And let's work on it. So I wanna make this as dramatic as possible. So let's say that this is a horror movie. I'll teach you a few different ways that we can make this dramatic. So first things first, we need to think about what our exposure should be like. I think exposure should be lower on this shot. I exposed it this way because I shot on a Sony, and since this is not RAW, this is 10-bit, I needed to get some detail in the shadows. But we will be darkening this shot. Now, in this shot particularly, I don't like the fact that this part right here is too underexposed. It's not lit well, but it's not bright enough, and this is too bright. So we might play a little with a power window. Now let's build our contrast. Now, there's a few ways you can go about this. I want to get a desaturated look with a lot of contrast, but instead of actually playing with the saturation, I'll just play with my contrast, and I'll do something that I teach in my school. So I'll come up on my lift, and I'll come down on my gain with the sliders. Then, after I've done that, I'll go down with the Y of my lift, and I'll come up with the Y of my gain to give it some contrast. I'll do the same thing with my gamma. Actually, gamma can come up while lift goes down. I want it to be real gritty. So I'm very okay with the black point clipping at this point. Of course, if you're grading for broadcast, you should have broadcast safe levels. That's something I talk about in my school. So I like the way this looks. In the official grade, I had a way softer look, but let's say that we want to keep it realistic and gritty. So we may want to get this looking darker. I might actually go about it this way. So I'll make my sat node. This is probably going to be used for saturation. And after this, I'll make my power window. I usually keep power windows at the end of my node tree, but you can be flexible with them. It depends on what they need to do. So instead of something like this, we need to make a mask. Now, I'm very lucky because this shot is a stationary shot. So this is kind of ideal for what we want. If it were moving, you couldn't do this. I mean, this is only possible because I shot it this way. Now, Shift H to see what we're targeting. I'll soften my mask like this. And I'll go down in exposure. Actually, I'll show you something. So since this needs to be realistic, I want the door, what's coming through the door, to behave as it would if it were lit differently. So we're actually going to place this node before anything else. This is what I mean when I say that I don't like proceeding in a set way. You can actually do things very differently. And that's why you need to leverage node trees. That's also something that I preach in my school. Again, top link in the description. Step 1, click the link. Step 2, apply. Step 3, become proud of every color you publish. So we have the power window. I'm going to try with my curves, with my custom curves. I'll try to bring them down. This is not looking bad. It might be... So this is very dramatic. I'm liking this. The right is too dark. We need some more light. On the left, I want to get rid of some of the highlights coming through the door, exactly like this. Then I might want to come up on my lift. Actually on my gamma, not lift. Because if we increase lift in this case, we're going to be changing our contrast. We might do something different as well. So I'll try to duplicate this node, make a new one just like that. Disable the one before, reset this, and I'll actually just try to come down in exposure right here. So we're effectively just affecting how the image is exposed right here. I'm actually gonna come down even more, and after we have come down this much, we can raise the exposure of the whole thing. See how now they look like it looks like it's way more they look similar. I'm sorry, I I don't get the word right now, but they basically have the same, almost the same brightness. I'm not talking about this part, I'm talking about this part. See how on my waveform, if I hover on this, it's way closer than what it was before. I'm pretty satisfied with this. See, way different result. I actually prefer the exposure one without changing the contrast ratio. So I'm thinking, do we want to add something to the image? Well, we might want to add, let me think. In this case, I want the HSL to be gathering information from the power window so that it's unaffected by our exposure, contrast, and anything else. And it's not the original signal, since we want the original signal to beat this. So we want the image to behave if it if it was shot like this, basically. So, HSL, let's think about our grade. So for a grade like this, you don't really want that much saturation. As you can see, we already have very little saturation. We might want... Yeah, I want less blue. Less cyan. We have very little cyan in the image, but I want to get rid of it. Yeah, if I up it, you can see that it starts to show itself right here. Probably just because of noise, but still, I want to get rid of it. Okay, and right now I might wanna. This is my saturation node. Let's get this ready. Right now I might want to play with my saturation actually. Yeah, let's do that. So if we up everything, this happens. And I'm actually very happy. I don't need to touch anything too much. I might just want to give it a tint. So I'll actually have a tint after our saturation node because I don't want it to be in parallel with the HSL. I want it to be, I don't want it to be influenced by what's happening over here. I want it to happen after. So let's see if I can add some blue to the gamma actually. Yeah, just a little touch, just to make this a little more dramatic. This might be it. I actually like it a lot. Maybe a slight warm tint, or instead of a warm tint, actually we might just re-increase the door right here. Since it was warm, you remember that, right? Since it was warm, we can actually increase this so that we get some color separation, some color contrast between the two areas of our image. This is looking very good. Very good. I like this a lot. Now, with the clipped blacks, the image has a lot of grit. If we don't want that, we can just come up here and start to shadow shape the image. So in this case, it doesn't work like that. We'll probably get better results if we go like this, and the image starts to get softer. In this case, if we get it softer, we ruin it. Because I want the image to be gritty. So I'm not going for that look, I'm going for this look. Let's get to this one. Now, this is an interesting shot. We have a few things that we can do to the image. This is Timbit Sony, still one of my projects. Now, we can get this image looking in a couple of different ways. I mean, we can do some things to this image. When you have an image that is as monochromatic as this one, we only have one dominant color. What you need to play with is contrast, right? It's kind of similar to this one in a different way because we still have some separation, but it's kind of the same concept, you see, because we have one dominant. We had one dominant right here. It was the yellow from the sun. You can see it in the vector scope. And we actually have this. You might want to control this if it were an actual grade for an actual video right now. You might want to desaturate your red. But nonetheless, we have this image right here, and we need to do something about it. What I would personally do is this. We might want to do for a quick, dark, but visible. So we want to keep our black soft, shadows dark, and we might want to just see some details in the highlights to get a dark commercial look, basically. So nothing is clipping like here. This is more of a movie look, okay? Nothing is clipping like this example right here, but we might still get it to look dark. So the way you want to go about it is this. So exposure, we might lower it just by less than half a stop. Then we make a new node right here. Let's see. I actually want to pick a better frame. Okay, let's pick this frame when there's the light right here. So let's work our contrast. Now, I want there to not be green in the shadows. One way I can do that is by raising lift, going down on my Y. Again, I teach that in my online school. Go check it out if you're serious about grading and you want to end the confusion. We need to be shadow shaping at this point. Okay, I need to bring my highlights up while we bring our gamma down. Log wheels, because our black needs to come up just a little bit. This is still going to be fairly dark. I just don't want it clipping. Now we need way less green in the shadows. This is too muddy. I don't like it. We need more contrast. So before that, when I talk about contrast in this sense, I'm talking about color contrast. Now before that, I actually want to check real quick without color. I might want to get a stronger contrast going. So he isn't lit that well. I would love for him to be brighter right here. We can add a power window, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll just try to get a higher contrast ratio right now. So let's go right here. Our shadows come down. Highlights up. Yep. I need to shadow shape a little. Black needs to come up just a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with this contrast right now. So what I want to do, what I really need to do is try to desaturate the shadows a little because there's too much green. So in the official grade, I had a very muted green and we need to control that right now, right here. So the way we can go about it is by having a Desat node where we try to do what I tried to do in this example. So we basically go Luma versus Sat we go right here, I get a control point and I grab this and I go down on it. See how this gets desaturated? Now, this is too sharp, right? You see how there's a big change because we have the control point too close to everything else. So I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna take it over here. I actually like it. I like what we're doing. This might come down again. Okay, I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. I like that we have some separation. We have a huge deal of contrast right now. I might actually just... So if I were really grading this, I would handle how nuclear this is getting. Because as I told you, I'm looking more towards them. And I would actually want to guide the viewer here, not here. So this is way too bright. So in a real scenario, you would get a power window. You would get it right here. Like, let's say something like this, right? Very soft. And I've been asked to do this on real projects. So this is really what you would do. So you get a power window. Don't track it like those preset pirates told you to. Just leave it like this because it's not moving that much, right? Leave it like this. It's going to look more realistic if you leave it like this than if you track it. So you go like this and you just bring down the highlights right here. You go like this, gain down, you do something like this and you fix it. I'm just going to leave it here for the sake of simplicity and because I like what it's doing. Also, we might want to remove some color boost. Yeah, it's not looking that bad. We might want to get it to look a little brighter. I might want to increase our exposure, sorry. Okay, I like the way this is looking. And at this point, we can just do, well, we could play with our green. In the original grade, I remember I had the green less intense than what it is right now. I had it at around here, and I think it went more towards cyan. So it's actually kind of like this. Now, if you like it or if you don't like it, this is up to you. This is up to what you want to communicate to the viewer. And I actually don't like it very much for this example. I want to keep it as it is. So I am fond of this look right now. Let's actually try to get a tint going. I'm actually going to add it to my to the end of my node tree. Let's see if we can get anything interesting going on in the shadows. So if we add a blue tint, it complements the green very well. We can go either with or without a blue tint. With a blue tint would be a more modern look because there's a lot of tinted blacks and shadows in modern cinema, depending on what you're doing. If this were a commercial, if this were actually a commercial, I would probably ease off a little on the black. It would probably be coming up right here, and I'd probably keep the blue tint in this. Actually, we might try and do something fancy. Let's see here. Yeah, we might actually try to get a blue tint going in the highlights as well. I mean, you can play with this image. There's a few different things that you can do. I'm a fan of not tinting the image. You can tint it either way. It looks gorgeous to me. Last example that we have today is this clip from the same project as this one. This, again, is 8-bit. So it's going to be a pain in the ass to grade this thing, but nonetheless, we've got to go on and grade it. So we need to think about what are we doing? Let's say that this is a clip of you vlogging and you just want to get it to look proper and nothing too fancy because there's two people, right? So let's say that this is a good exercise to get a clip looking proper. Just color correction. Let's see what we can do. 8-bit. Okay, let's target exposure. Now, the image is exposed properly. I just have a problem with our highlights. I mean, this part is a little too bright. And usually I expose my subjects a little below this point. So let's see if we bring down whole exposure, what it looks like. Okay, let's play with the image. We have quite a bit of detail to play with, actually. I might want to keep it like this. Let's hit our contrast. Instead, before we do that, there's one thing that I'm actually not liking that much. It's how much magenta we have in the image. Now, I'm not too sure how I want to go about this. So the skin tone is way too red. Okay, it's all wrong. And it's because he isn't lit properly. This being one of my videography projects, it was not lit that well. And I was using a LED light that doesn't really serve skin tones that well. So that's why we got to go in as a colorist and fix this. This is part of color correction 101. Again, top link in the description takes you to the online school beta program. Apply for it if you want to finally be proud of color grading. So white balance, still gonna take this to linear, gamma, luma mix down to 0. So let me check real quick. what happens if we take the image in a few different directions. So I'm actually trying to balance the wall behind us. So I'm looking at my waveform. When these three levels, I have identified that the wall is this. Now, I don't know if this needs to look as white as it does. I mean, it probably shouldn't look like this. It should be a little warmer. I don't remember how this looked in real life. I'm just trying to balance it off of what I'm seeing. Now, my biggest issue with this image is just how red their skin tones are. So we've got to go ahead and fix it. White balance, go straight to HSL. And we will hit our hue versus hue, see how much we have between our red and magenta. Okay, we got to be careful. We've got to actually compress our skin tones. This is something that I teach a lot in the school. So compressive skin tones means that you see that we have a bunch of different colors on his skin actually. We need to compress the ones that go too far to the left towards the right, and the opposite is true for the ones that go too much towards right. So the reddish parts of his skin become more orange, and the orangey parts of his skin become more reddish, basically. So let's try to do that real quick. Yeah, this is not looking too bad. I'm trying to not overdo it, because if you do, you'll ruin your shot and Flatline Fred will win. Okay, this is not looking bad at all right now. We might play a little more with the skin. I'm not totally happy with how it's looking, but nonetheless. So let me try to handle this actually. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this can definitely come down. Let me see what we can target. Okay. We can target this. We can now play with our saturation. We could bring down the yellow from his shirt. Let's see what happens if we do. I like this. Remember, this is 8-bit, so we've got to be very careful. Now, I'm just going to take this to HSV as I've done in this video. Color space, HSV, here it is. I might want to desaturate what is not really saturated in this image and then come back at it with some saturation in the most saturated areas. So, fortunately, it's not looking like it's breaking that easily. And I like that. This is not looking bad at all. I mean, we could totally like make this dramatic. I mean, if you really want to see it. I haven't touched my contrast. We could totally go like this. Make this a little more dramatic and everything. Actually, I would just come down on my shadows a little. Maybe even more. Maybe come down on my shadows, come up on my black point. Midtones up. Yeah, I actually like it. This is looking fairly normal. There's a few things that I might want to change, but his skin is already looking better than it did before, and I'm happy with it. I mean, if I were to change anything else, we might want to go with, I don't know, a power window right here. We might want to get the window to look maybe a little less bright. Of course, it's clipped, so we can't get anything else out of it, but still we can maybe make what's around it less bright. Of course, this is too much anyways. So you can go about it different ways. We could try giving it a tint. This is not my objective, as I told you. I mean, you can do different things to this. This is way more workable than the clip before. We could go greenish. We could do a bunch of different things, essentially. But for the sake of simplicity, I just wanted to give you a normalized, corrected image from 8-bit Desat3. Now, if you guys liked the video, remember, step 1, click the link below, apply for the school, and finally enjoy color grading. Again, subscribe if you want more videos like this, apply to the school to get a discount. If you like this video, hit a thumbs up and subscribe. God bless you.